Okay, some more examples which I really like. Okay, this is a real-life headline again. Real-life headline. Daily Express, it's a national newspaper in the UK. And it says that a daily fry-up boosts the cancer risk by 20%. Okay? Now, let's actually dig into this figure. Let's actually dig into this. What they're talking about is something called relative risk. Something called relative risk. Now, don't worry, we don't need to know about relative risk and absolute risk, but I just want to illustrate my point of the fact of statistics which is being taught or being represented in a very manipulated way. So, relative risk compares a group of people that eat a daily fry-up to those that don't. Okay, so you've got a group of people that are eating a daily fry-up. By the way, do we know what a daily fry-up is? Do we know what a fry-up is? Yeah, it's like sausages and bacon and eggs and beans and like horrible greasy stuff. Yeah, I don't particularly like it, but it's apparently a national dish. Okay, so yeah, relative risk basically says you've got a group of people that have one of these daily fry-ups every single day. Then you've got a group of people who don't. Okay, and if you compare the risk between the two, it says that the people who do eat the daily fry-up are 20% more likely to get cancer. Okay, so the way we should calculate relative risk is you take the new risk and divide it by the old risk. All right. Now there's another type of risk that you can look at. So this is relative risk. It compares one group compared to another just by dividing the two ratios or dividing the two numbers by each other. All right. There's another type of risk, and this type of risk is called absolute risk. Okay. So absolute risk actually deals with the numbers. So instead of dividing the new risk by the old risk, or the old risk by the, you basically just subtract the two. So you've got new risk divided by old risk, that's relative risk. Absolute risk, you just simply subtract the two risks from each other. Alright? Now, what do you think this headline is talking about? Absolute or relative risk?
Absolute risk.
The other one. It's relative risk. Yeah, absolutely, it's relative risk. Okay. But what if it did actually report it from absolute risk instead? So let's actually look at the numbers. Okay. So remember, absolute risk deals with actual figures. So what it means, let's suppose that 1 in 80 people get cancer, okay, get pancreatic cancer. And that is a true figure. Like that is the Cancer Research UK figure. Okay, 1 in 80 people get cancer. So in other words, what does 1 in 80 actually mean? If you put 400 people into a room who do not have a daily fry-up, then we would expect 5 of them, 1 in 80 of them, to get pancreatic cancer. So here we go. Here I have got 400 people sitting in a room, okay? And I expect 5 of them to get cancer anyway, just by pure chance. There they are. Poor souls, one's in pink. Do you see that? Okay, so these are the people who don't have a daily fry-up, right? But will just get cancer anyway. Okay. Now, if we go back to the slogan, or go back to the headline, it says that the increased relative risk is 20%. Now, another way of thinking about 20% is 1 in every 5. Well, have a think. Didn't we just say that those 5 people that were in a room that would get cancer anyway, okay? All we're saying now is that 1 in every 5, if they have a daily fry-up every day, will increase the chance of getting cancer. So now, instead of having 5 people out of the 400, we're going to have 6. Okay. So look at that. 400 people in a room, 5 of them would get cancer anyway. If you have a daily fry-up every day, all you're saying is you're just going to get 1 more person who's going to get cancer. Yeah? Suddenly that doesn't sound so scary anymore. Okay, so the absolute risk would be basically saying 1 in 400 would now get cancer instead. So 1 in 400 works out as about 0.25%. Okay, so now if you change the headline from this, so daily fry-up boosts cancer risk by 20%, to this, daily fry-up boosts cancer risk by 0.25%, which one is going to sell more headlines? The one on the left or the one on the right?
The left.
Absolutely, the one on the left. So my point is, when you read these slogans in the newspaper, have we all seen these kind of slogans before? Have we all seen these kind of headlines?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't take it on face value. Chances are they are talking about relative risk instead of absolute risk. Okay? Now I'm not saying that either one of these is wrong. Okay? They're both equally as correct as each other. But my point is you need to be careful about how they're interpreting it. And you need to give everybody as much information as possible. This is your job as a statistician. You are not a journalist. You are not a journalist. Your job is to report information as accurately and as fairly as possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. A few more examples. Okay. Oh, by the way, thinking about this, they kind of implied that eating that daily fry-up every single day is what causes that increased risk. Do you agree with that? I mean, there's definitely an increased risk, whether you look at relative risk or absolute risk, but do you agree that the cause of that is because they're eating a daily fry-up every single day?
It could be one of the factors.
It could be one of them, but Nikki, you say no. Why?
Well, to cause a cancer, it has to have some other reasons.
Such as? Yeah, exactly, such as.
Such as living style, your emotion, your blah, blah, blah.
You're absolutely right, okay? So they just said if you put a group of people in the room who have a daily fry-up every single day, yeah, there's an increased risk, and it must be because they're having a daily fry-up every single day. But Nikki, you're absolutely right. In order to have cancer, there must be other factors which are involved, such as, for example, living standards. Let's think about it. If you're having a daily fry-up every single day, not a particularly healthy thing to be having, what is your living style going to be like? What's your lifestyle going to be like? Probably not that healthy. You're probably not going to be exercising as much as you should do. You're probably not going to be taking care of your diet as much as you should do. You're probably not going to be having the fruit and the vegetables and nutrition which you should be having. You're probably not taking care of yourself. So actually, yeah, okay, if you have a daily fry-up every single day, there is an increased risk, but it may not be because of the daily fry-up. It may be because of other factors instead. Now, this plays on something called in correlation does not imply causation. We will look at that. That's theme 6. Okay, so we will look at that idea. So just be aware when you're reporting this, don't necessarily just connect the dots because they're there. Okay, think about it logically. You can also ask the question, is an increase of 1 in every 400, so that 0.25% increased absolute risk, is that actually significant? Okay? And you can think about that. I've asked it as an open-ended question. You can think about that. But we will look at this in theme 5. We will actually ask the question, is it statistically significant? So just because there's an increased risk doesn't mean it's actually significant. But we will look in theme 5 what we mean by significant. Okay? So this is all to come. It's kind of tying together the different things. By the way, if you're interested in more of this, sort of absolute risk versus relative risk and real-life examples to show just how prevalent it is, I've put some links there, and I strongly recommend that you go and have a look at them. I've kind of picked out a few of my favourites. Okay, so this is one of the headlines in a very well-regarded newspaper, actually, The Independent. Summer-born children are more likely to be diagnosed with depression than older pupils or other pupils. Okay, if you actually have a look at the risks, okay, the relative risk means it's 30% more likely, but if you actually break down the numbers and look at the absolute risk, it's only 0.2%. Okay. Now, by the way, relative risk, absolute risk, they're both equally correct. You just need to be careful about which one you're reporting. You need to make sure you're reporting it fairly. Another example. Daytime naps once or twice a week may be linked to a healthy heart, researchers say. If you actually have a look at it, the relative risk is 48%. You think, oh, that's quite likely. But if you actually break it down to the absolute risk, you're actually only 2.8% more likely. Okay? And remember, there may be other factors hiding behind here. Okay? One final one from the Daily Mail. Hidden fat raises a woman's risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease with every extra 2.2 pounds, boosting her odds by 7-fold. So again, if you break down the risks, the relative risk is 650%, but the absolute risk is only 5%. Okay? So, are you happy? Are you happy? The point of statistics, okay, or one of the things which you need to be careful about with statistics, is how you are reporting it. Okay? Just because you see a headline doesn't mean it's necessarily accurate. Okay? Like the statistics may well tell you this, but it's all about how you interpret it. Are there any questions?
When we read a newspaper, how would we know?
A lot of the time you don't. And this is the issue. This is why you have to be so careful. Because a lot of the time you don't know which risk they're reporting. But chances are, you've got to think, a newspaper is designed to tell stories. Yeah? And it's designed to capture people's attention. You've just seen that the relative risk is always usually bigger than the absolute risk.
Just by reading it, you can calculate this?
Because you don't have the data in front of you, you can't actually calculate it necessarily yourself. You need to go away and do some extra information, extra reading. But yeah, you can pretty much guarantee that nearly all the time they're reporting relative risk instead of absolute risk. But I really just wanted to make you aware that just because you read the headline, just because you see something, you need to dig further yourself. You need to see the evidence in front of you. That's really the point of statistics. It's taking an observation, and then it's going out and taking evidence and seeing what that evidence shows you. Yeah?